Sweet. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Martin?
All right, Mark Zorden, Johnson Engineering. The first thing is the golf course renovation permit. It's in your agenda. We've submitted what the permitting would look like for getting the South Florida Water Management District Environmental Resource Permit Mod and the Village of Estero LDO. Does anybody have any questions on that? This is for the permitting, the construction plans, the environmental support.
For the golf course?
For the golf course, for holes 10, 13, and 18.
So that's something that has to be done regardless, right?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any questions about that, but keep going.
All right. Do we need a
The only thing I was wondering about, because I know we keep talking about the cypress trees, are we going to have to replant somewhere else? Like we do
Yeah, I
on the
would say
residential side?
I would say there'd be some mitigation required somewhere in addition, along with the removal of some oak trees too that they want to do.
I guess when it comes to that, where can you, does it matter where you replant?
I'm not sure what
Yeah.
they're going to require where and
It's not always
how that
standard.
fits with the design. That's going to have to be worked in with Gordy with the design.
And I know on the resident side, when we take a tree out, it says like 6 different trees you can replace with. Is that standard too, or?
Yes.
Okay, so you,
Yep.
all right,
Got some flexibility.
okay. So do you have any questions? No.
Motion to approve the
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Next is the Lancaster run the turnover to surveying proposals. We've given you the base map, which has to be done, and then we've given you 2 options for the survey.
Hey, Mark, can you explain the reason why the base map is necessary? And what I'll do, I'm also going to pass out, this is, for reference also, this is the area on the parking lot that we talked about. in that one. So you can also see, and then Mark can explain also why the area in orange on the parking lot and the pool is a bit different. There's reasons for it.
So the base map does your actual survey, and it provides the information you need to do the sketches and legal descriptions and the exhibit. So that has to be done. The option 1 is just a boundary survey of all 3 entities, if you will, for U.S. Homes to the Master Association, U.S. Homes to the CDD, and then U.S. Homes to an undetermined entity yet. And then option 2 breaks it down with the survey, and it does the individual boundary surveys for the CDD, the master, and U.S. Home remainder parcels.
I guess, Mark, can you explain the differences between option 1 and option 2 as far as
That'd be helpful. Yes.
the scope? Because the base map is going to be has to be necessary for option 1 and option 2.
Correct.
If you can explain the differences between option 1 and option 2?
Right, so option 1 is, it's the survey containing the combined areas of all the conveyance parcels, and each conveyance parcel will be individually described and dimensioned, but only the outer perimeter of the combined parcels will be monumented. and this is a key element, with option 2, all 3 parcels will be individually monumented. That's key to this.
Explain monumented, please.
Monuments at your property corners. It's going to be on all those individual property lines, or parcel lines, I should say.
So when you say for option 1, but only the outer perimeter of the combined parcel will be monumented. So you just, the big
It's
boundary
the outer.
We gotta do option 2.
I agree, I just want to make sure we understand what the scope is.
As we do projects and we determine, we do something, HOA does something, and Lancaster does something, it's important that the contractors know who to charge for what.
Well, and it's also important to know who is going to get the purple area. That's why you have the monuments, for that.
Yep.
Because you have a separate legal description sketch with monuments for those. And then, so that's still a question as to who's going to get that.
Yep.
I understand the districts maintain a lot of those areas now. But, and the reason for the base map, I think that you understood, horizontal data of visible above-ground improvements. This is so you can see any encroachments, like overhangs, and also whether or not the improvements that are on the ground are where they're supposed to be, relative to what the district is intending to take and what the master is.
Correct.
So I really appreciate working with Mark Haynes, Mark Haynes, the surveyor. You and I had a long conversation a couple weeks ago about the scope and the different colored maps. So.
Yeah, and I guess just for the board, like I went and I walked that whole purple area, and I tried to establish if there was any CDD, what's the legal description of this, Tony, I guess, like infrastructure items that would be of interest for us to maintain.
Drainage or any irrigation lines?
All the drainage is on the green, is in the green area. There were some like turnoff valves for irrigation. There were some meters for like the potable water, just like we all have in our front yards. And then if you look on, I guess, the page or the drawing closest to Stony Brook Golf Drive, the golf course cart path kind of zooms through that purple area.
Yep.
But aside from the golf cart path, like I think it makes most sense for that purple area to reside, in the control and ownership of the Lancaster Run residents. If I owned in there, that's what I would want, much like the carport, control of my front yard, if you will.
Yeah, and one other aspect here.
Now, the only thing about that is, well, do they want it, I guess? And the other thing is, there's expectations that we're doing landscaping.
Yep, I understand that.
And if they own it,
We can have
landscape.
Well,
We can have a similar agreement.
If it functions as some water management aspect, or the district can have a lease of that property if whoever owns it, and as a lease, the district can then maintain it. Or have an easement, district can have an easement, whoever owns it, district can get an easement, and then therefore the district would have the requisite property interest in order to be able to maintain it and use public funds. So there's a way to achieve that. And Mark, can you explain one other aspect? I'll look at, on the, both figures, the orange around the pool area extended like a little leg over, which is a touch different than the exhibit that was given to the village. Can you explain why that little parcel was pulled in? I guess otherwise you'd have sort of like this gap.
Yeah, you would end up with gaps, so it makes sense that it would be one common area.
There's a small little piece there that would otherwise, and you can see, I'll test this down. This is number 3 on this. Look at the red cross hatching. If you look at number 3, it's sort of like this little remnant piece that Mark Haynes discovered, that it makes sense to include that as part of the conveyance to the Master Association. We'll confer with the Master Association on that to make sure, but otherwise you have this little, that number 3 piece just kind of hanging out there. There's nowhere there. So that was a good catch on Mark's part. So the authorization, Chuck, that's needed is to authorize Johnson Engineering to,
The proposal for option 2.
option 2 and the base, correct?
I make that proposal, option 2,
And the base max.
and the base map.
So it's, those lump sums are, so it's gonna be around 50. One's 20-something, one's 31,000.
Correct, Mark?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting, yeah, what, the base map's 27,000 even, and option 2 is 31,000.
Is it an either or?
No, it's combined. So it's your base map and option 2, so it's your 31,000 plus
21.
plus your 21, or 27. 27,
So 58,000.
58,000 total.
And Chuck, is this capable of, once you revise engineer's report, being funded by the bond issue? You can amend the engineer's report as part of the overall product?
Yeah.
Lancaster runs on it?
Yes,
So it can be reimbursed, it's reimbursable?
yes. It sets us up to where we can actually now go in and do our milling and paving and curb repairs and things of that nature.
Do we have adequate funds there?
You do. Yeah.
I make a motion that we do this.
So it's base match-
As
base
painful
map
as
and
it
option
is,
2.
you know.
I'll second. I think, I'm just concerned, and I started thinking about this whole deal, and I know we've been talking about it for a while, but, you know, we're talking about 4 different associations, what we're trying to do, which I think we're trying to do what those associations want us to do, but we've kind of just heard from residents. I don't know, I mean, have we really heard from those associations saying, hey, yeah, we support this, we want this to happen? Because if we go in here, whether we're talking about irrigation, if we're talking about the roads, if we're talking about landscaping, and Pinecrest 1 wants it done, and Pinecrest 3 doesn't, and we're, you know, we're just dog chasing the tail here.
I think we need, I think we need to get approval from the respective associations that they're okay with this. And it's likely that they may not even want it. That's one option. Option 2 is Pinecrest 2 doesn't want anything to do with the front part of, you know, so they may want to divide this up. And, yeah, we still have this rogue dumpster near Pinecrest 3 that apparently is open to the public, or, you know, that U.S. Home still, I guess,
I didn't know about that.
owns that land, you know?
Robert, are you on the call, Robert? Who's going to call in?
Hey, this is Rob Cave with Becker. I just called in and I was sorry.
Okay, thank you. Well, I guess one question is I think the overall, I'll call it the global perspective, is to try to get the roads into the district's ownership to be able to engage in renovation and remedial activities. This accomplishes that aspect, because the master, U.S. Homes is willing to give the green, and the master is willing to take the orange from U.S. Home. Now, the only remaining issue is what happens to the purple.
Right.
And so I guess the question is, does the board want to wait to get buy-in from all 4 condominium associations as to what to do with the purple? Because I'm not sure if that will happen, I don't know, Rob, or just proceed ahead with the district taking the green, the master taking the orange, and then continuing to talk with the condo associations about the purple.
Yeah, I'm happy to hand the purple off to the condo association.
Well, right now, the district doesn't have the purple, so.
We just don't absorb it.
Yeah, and then U.S. Home would still then be the owner of the purple, and U.S. Homes wants to get rid of it, obviously.
Right.
So, Rob, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, again, we represent the master, just to be clear, so I can't speak and would not purport to speak for the condos. I think I agree that we all have agreement on the orange property to the master, the green property to the CDD, and can move forward with that. I'm still a little unclear, and this is ignorance on my part potentially, on who is currently maintaining the purple. And if that bears on any of that discussion. And that again, maybe a discussion.
The landscaping, mowing, et cetera, is being maintained by the CDD. And there's that master agreement with the master that we thought covered that area, John, I guess, but the master doesn't have an interest in that area. So we have an agreement with an entity that doesn't have an interest in it.
Right, so, you know, and this is not a conversation that the masters had on, you know, what, if I think its initial thought was it was not interested in taking the purple. I don't know if that would change if there was a continuing agreement for it to be maintained by the CDD, and I don't know if the CDD is willing to do that.
I think as a community, it just makes sense to get U.S. Homes off that property. So one of the 6 entities, us, the master board, or the 4 Pinecrest, should own that land. Logically speaking, I think, you know, it makes sense. And I think that's where I'm bringing up, and what Adam's saying as well, is that, you know, I think myself, I'm willing as a CD to say, yeah, let's take it over, but I want to take it over as long as I get something from Pinecrest, the other 4 saying, yeah, we want you to do that on the purple.
So I guess what could happen still, though...
It only makes sense.
Correct, but the work can still go ahead, I would suggest, on doing the base map, doing the individuals, and doing the conveyance of the green to the district and the orange to the association, and work with the condominiums as to the purple area. As to what the district's proposal is for that, the district would own that also and maintain it. Is that sort of the sentiment? So this doesn't hold up the redoing the road. And I guess the question is, we'll get to that, who would be the appropriate people to work with the condominium association? There's 2 different law firms representing the 4 condominium associations. And so...
At least there's not 4.
And 2 of the law firms also represent U.S. Homes, I think. I could be wrong on that, is that correct, Rob?
I believe that's correct, that
He's representing.
Today's office represents.
Yeah, so.
U.S. Homes, or certain attorneys in that law firm represent U.S. Homes, and certain attorneys represent some number of the condominiums.
So again, I guess if the board approves a base map with option 2, Johnson Engineering proceeds, I'll proceed and work with Rob on the master. And then, Rob, I may ask you to also help on with the condominium associations, just generally, as far as being like a liaison when you work with Cheney. And I think the BOST represents 2 of the others to try to, you know, convene some conference call to discuss this. So we'll work on that with Rob and the Pinecrest Association and the council. Good point, Chris.
Well, I think we also have to have buy-in on how, this goes a little further, but the proposal of what we're wanting to do with the streets. You know, we pave the streets, but then they pick up the 4 other associations pick up the parking space.
I think that, yeah, the parking spaces are not included in this, to my knowledge.
That's correct.
Right, but I think we need to have some buy-in from them, because then they're all going to get...
Some acknowledgement of it.
Yes, just something of, yes, well, of course, we're going to have a written agreement with them, because we're going to use the same company to do it all, but they have to agree
Yeah, okay.
to go
That's why
along
we're
with
where we
that.
are. They assumed we were going to do it to begin with on the road.
Understood.
Right.
Okay.
They might assume again on parking spaces.
Right.
We need to make sure that's clear.
We haven't really had, or at least in this forum, we haven't had communication with, to my knowledge, any of those leaders of the association. I think we've had some residents here that clearly voiced their opinions.
Yep.
But we really had representation from those associations saying, yes, this makes sense, we'll buy in, let's do it.
Right.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and I wonder, Tony, like, where do we get to if we push forward with the green and the orange, you know, being transferred in ownership to the Master Association and the CDD respectively, and the purple is now not under any kind of arrangement, you know, like, does that mean we immediately have to stop servicing, cutting grass, stuff like that? Like, I want to be proactive in this and make sure that we do this properly.
Unless we have an agreement with U.S. Home.
Yeah. We shouldn't be doing it, right?
That's not going to make those associations happy.
No. But like...
And it shouldn't, because it really shouldn't be.
We need to get their input, to Chris's point.
Right.
And if they don't come to the table to help us understand what they want, they're gonna not, they may get roads, but they're gonna have, a really overgrown kind of area there. And I don't want that,
No, it's a global resolution.
Yeah.
But Tony, aren't you communicating with their legal?
No, they're not
Not
involved.
associations, the focus has been with the master on the road.
To get the pool area and all that taken care of.
And again, most recently, this whole issue came up with regards to the purple, the remnant, the district maintaining it, what do we do? That's been a pretty recent phenomenon. The focus has been first getting the village to agree
Yeah,
on
the
the
pine,
approach, and then finally getting the survey so we can do the conveyance, and then revising the engineer's report, and then the purple kind of jumped out, like, oh, this is interesting.
Well, let's move what we can today and move forward with the other thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we do have a motion on the table. Any other discussion?
I thought somebody seconded it.
I did.
It has.
I seconded, but we were having discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
Rob, thank you, and I'll get with you, Rob, about us getting with council for the associations.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
very much, we appreciate it.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Rob.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, next on the list is the Signorama Monument sign proposal. So if you recall, the board asked for me to explore some different options. I had reached out to Signorama, they're a local Naples company that does a lot of these types of signs. I've consulted with Eileen and Kyle, have been involved in the correspondences with Conrad of Signorama, and you have this proposal. I think most importantly to look at is on the 5th page of it, what that design would look like.
I was thinking you were gonna say the price.
Yeah, let's look at that first.
Let's see if you like the sign first.
Yeah,
My first question on the sign is that permanent? Because, again, we got a good relationship with Duffy's, and hopefully it continues on. What happens if Duffy's turns into Fred's or something else?
So those signs are, we've checked, confirmed, those signs are interchangeable, so that can be taken off.
Okay.
Is this what we're looking at?
This is what we're looking at now. And
Where is this going?
on the island, the concrete island,
So it'd be,
Perpendicular to the road.
Running the length
how's it
of the
gonna,
island.
right here, man.
You would see it.
so it would run this way?
Yeah, yes.
It would run this way?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering how that 8-foot
Yeah.
wall was gonna run.
no.
Okay.
So that,
9 foot.
what Eileen had suggested was that on the reverse side, the community side, that only
I see.
the Stony Brook emblem be on that side. Just figuring that it's the residents are coming up just to the golf course, they know that Duffy's is there. So the Duffy sign would just be on the, I'll call it the Corkscrew Road, north side.
Mark, did you explain to Signorama that we're tax exempt?
Oh, yeah.
I saw that on the proposal that they
Installation
included, so
extension, that'd be great too.
Not for nothing, it's like, there's really no way.
Yeah, seriously, 50 grand is Mark, I've got a couple of concerns, right?
okay, let's have it.
In this community for the last 3 or 4 years, we have been removing line-of-sight obstructions throughout the community. We had all these convex mirrors.
Yeah.
And we had hedges that were tall, and, there was, I think, a safety issue. And now we're talking about putting an 8-foot by 5-foot visual obstruction. And as I pulled out of Duffy's, and I did it earlier this morning, you're gonna have a huge obstruction from the people coming out of Stony Brook. So I have a safety concern with this, right? The second thing is the product that this is being made out of, DFSM, is an EIFS product. Drive it, there's a $40 to $75 million class action lawsuit on it because that product retains water. So I guess in Signorama's proposal, how are they planning on designing and installing this so that water can easily drain away and not get trapped inside this product, which is known to have that issue.
I'm going to have to ask these questions. This is,
And to your point, Phil, with the 8 foot, it's gonna destroy that view. Maybe, looking in.
Yeah, this is a no-go.
Yeah, Mark, I think we need to start over.
Okay.
And so for me, I think if we're gonna do a sign, the sign should be on the, I guess, south side where the existing Duffy sign is, and maybe make it a joint sign, so it's not a line of sight
I think
thing.
the purpose of this project originally was just that the board thought that the island was an eyesite.
Right.
An eyesore.
Just give something,
So this
some
you were just
character,
exploring
something to the island. We
to-
talked
yeah.
about maybe just a planter in any.
Yeah.
Well, for 35,000, we could,
Yeah.
we could
Redo the whole thing.
redo the whole thing, probably.
Yeah.
Take it out.
And put,
I was thinking something more low profile, similar to the post that the directional sign is on. If we had 2 of those with just some small signs, very low profile, window height from a car.
similar to the ornamental post?
Yes. Keeping that same design and doing something that might be 4 feet wide with 2 posts and just something very delicate, something you can see through without, that's not the sign, and it's something that's very low profile, maybe even below the level of the driver's eyesight, so maybe up to the car window.
About 4 feet.
That's as high as it needs to be.
Almost like the size of like a roadblock sign.
Yeah, I mean, something, it doesn't need to be more than probably 3 feet above the monument, above the curb, maybe.
That's something me and him can make.
Well,
Yeah.
and just kind of talking, and we're sending Mark off on,
Yeah.
I don't know, you just brought up a good point, could you maybe think of something that,
An
idea?
as this came
And I don't wanna
across.
send Mark off.
All
He's
I
like,
was
"Don't
saying
go to-"
was I was just saying, hey, this sign looks good or not. That was the extent of my involvement in this.
Yeah.
I said, it's an eyesore, but I don't want it to be an obstruction either.
Who put the posts up with the directional sign? You guys do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paramount.
If you did parallel of those with a bar across it and some signs hanging off of that, that's really all we need.
On the south side, where the Duffy sign is in the grass area, not in the monument.
Well, it could be in the
aisle is what he's
curb,
saying.
in the median.
I'm
Could-
visualizing what you're saying.
And what if you just made this smaller, made that 4 feet? Well, it says it's 5 foot tall, make it 4 foot, and it's 8 foot long, just make it a little smaller.
We can do
I mean,
anything.
the sign, I think the sign is nice.
I think if you make it smaller, you take Duffy's off, and you just put Stony Brook.
It's almost 9 feet wide, I mean, that's a lot of room for signage, right? It's all 4 or 5, over 5 feet high. I don't know, it's my thoughts. But I like the design's nice.
Yeah, I like the design.
Can we see the design?
Here, I'll tear it out, Lauren. I don't need it. Here you go.
Just a,
No, you hold it.
You really wouldn't be able to see
Yeah,
it
it's
very
pretty
well.
small.
Because I don't think Duffy's is gonna pay us for that advertising.
Don't they
I
have
wouldn't
that-
think we'd
don't
ask
they
them
have that
to.
giant
So
sign?
why not,
It's gonna
why
come
not
out.
just make it a Stony Brook emblem?
There you
Or
go.
put something there.
Right, and they still have their sign at the.
Right.
They have a
They
little
still have
one
the
there,
sign
and they
in
have
the
that
front.
giant
Yeah,
one.
less is more. We don't need a ton of signs. I agree with you.
I think
Just our
putting
sign.
planted pot or like grass or something out, like,
We could do a smaller sign and then put a plant on each side.
I don't know
A planter on each
Look at,
side.
like what he's
Hang on.
saying.
put that sign where the Duffy sign is, I'm sorry, no problem. And then the planter in the aisle.
Yeah.
I don't know, as a consumer, I've been in this.
I appreciate that, because my wife doesn't normally like my ideas. So I like the pause.
You come in and people that don't know the area, as soon as they pull in, they can see, okay, Duffy's is here, we know we can get some lunches and drinks, and then the Stony Brook Golf Club is there. We don't know. And people coming out of the community, we already know what's there.
Like I said, it could be-
See the sign?
You need to talk to Duffy's about that, and then they can pay for a sign that'll go right there. We're happy to put their
I
ring.
think we talked about doing that, sharing that
Yep.
at one time. But to come in, see that nice sign that says Duffy's,
Lisa, do they think
that's
they need more
an
sign?
advantage for our community.
You think Duffy's would want more signage?
I think they have plenty of signage.
Okay, thank you.
I would take that little small sign, if you want to add,
Relocate it.
or make it a little bigger where it is, but are you trying to catch people coming in on Corkscrew or coming from
they have the big sign out in front on Cork Street, so like, they don't need anything beyond that.
But I'm thinking the small little sign as you come into the parking lot.
I mean, personally, I'm kind of leaning toward what Phil was saying, where like, if we just had, you know, 2 posts, 2 bars hanging down, and then pretty it up with some planters.
Don't we already
and
have
stuff.
that sign?
Not on this.
Not on
the
this
main-
island.
On the main road, you come in,
Yeah,
there's a sign there.
but you can't even see that until you're to the sign going into the gate. So I mean, there is a reason to have a sign there on that island. So I also agree, I don't think it needs that, I had no clue it was $30,000.
Yeah.
But very much like you're saying, this can be a simple,
Just bounce ideas.
this is just an awearness thing
Yeah,
here.
it's
We're
correct.
not trying to impress anybody with our signage.
Mark and John.
We don't know if we want it made out of.
What if we hollowed out that section to provide for flowers and put a sign?
Yeah, keep the curve.
Irrigation.
Yeah.
Irrigation, yeah, there's no irrigation.
Nowhere to run. You can just go out there every morning and syringe it.
John will
Well, I
do it.
thought if we did planters or something,
volunteered John.
we would
Well,
match the
yeah, like
flowers
this.
with the flowers in the
Yeah,
front.
of
And so when
course.
you change out flowers, you
Right.
would change it to kind of keep that
Right.
symmetric.
I can't guarantee nobody's gonna, kids are gonna come by and bust them one night or, but.
We can't guarantee that with any of the flowers, though.
Well, I think, like Kyle was saying, just something short with those, that same look of that post that's the directional sign is really all we need.
I get it.
Okay.
And it's very clean and neat, and it raises awareness of where, getting into Stony Brook.
And just Stony Brook, I don't think we need
Yeah.
Duffy.
Just Stony Brook.
I don't think, I mean, that's
Duffy's-
my opinion, if you guys are in agreement.
And we relocate maybe,
If this is a simple enough thing the way I'm imagining, we just literally have those 2 bars,
Correct.
2 chains. You could add 2 more little chains to say Duffy's on the 2. I mean,
should be
again,
more $1,000.
at that point, I would remove that little sign that we have. If I put that in, I'd remove the little sign for
Yes.
Duffy's. I wouldn't want that anymore, because now I have,
Little sign.
now I'd have
If we're gonna
to.
add
Why
them
you
to
don't just
that.
add you on
Because
top of
at this
that sign?
point, this sign's gonna block that one.
Because that's, at least that's the point is the center median, we're trying to.
Make it less ugly.
Ugly.
And make it usable.
Everybody looking at that
And
thing,
now,
avoid
what's,
that thing.
to your point though, what's
We
changing
don't want to
now,
camouflage, you do it.
You don't want people to stop
Because
and
like,
read anything on
if
that.
we put that, I'm not exactly sure of that eyesight there, or that eye line, but if we put anything in that median, that little sign on the corner, that's gonna be obstructed, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have to get that removed, and we'll put the Duffy sign on the
no,
bar.
actually, where it's at, 'cause I've been looking at this hard lately, because we just put
We can
columns
take,
there.
Lisa, we can take a look at that, just look at it as we go
Duffy sign,
in.
that's first.
I make a motion that we do not accept this sign.
Yeah, you don't.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All right,
Let's move on.
yeah, so,
We'll work on that, Lisa,
all right.
Okay.
and we'll get with Mark on that too.
Next, next is the pathway. It's diagonally across, it's on the south side, across from Lancaster Run. There's a dip in the sidewalk. So to get rid of that, I've talked with John, and he's tried numerous times to remove the sod to get the water to flow down to the valley gutter, and it keeps washing out, and it keeps building up with the silt, and then it ponds. What have you worked on it, 3-4 times?
Yeah, over the years, probably 7. Just cut out the solid low, keep lowering it, and then eventually it builds back up. I proposed putting 2 small drains right there, but that looks silly because it's such a small gap.
So I got a proposal from Paramount to take out approximately 50 feet of sidewalk there, rebuild it, raise that whole area up to meet the 2 high spots on either side for the sidewalk, and you'd have a continuous run and get rid of that belly where the ponding water is, and then they would backfill it with dirt, and John would sod it, re-sod it.
So, yeah, this was raised as a concern, I guess to me, by 2 different residents. And it's not really so much the ponding, it's all of the debris that gets down there, and it's like, it's almost like mossy, very slippery.
It's slippery.
So I think I know it's a lot of money, but I think it's a safety concern, and I think it's gonna be an ongoing safety concern. I make a motion that we accept the bid for Paramount and just fix it and be done with it.
Second. Any other discussion on it? questions,
Yeah, I know
concerns?
it
I mean,
needs to be
it's been a
fixed.
problem.
It just seems awfully expensive for 50 square yards, and something that probably should have been picked up before we replaced it to begin with. And I don't know why that wasn't picked up.
I don't know why either, I can't speak to that.
You know, after the project was done, I walked those sidewalks for weeks, every time it rained, and that did not pond. So it may have been because John did one of his, you know, patches, and that was good enough to last for a couple of months, and then we may have.
And the hard part is too, is like even after it dries and we clean it up, backpack blow it off, it doesn't dry, so there's still wet mud for
Right,
the.
yeah, there's always something there.
It seems like it's got a curve there where the grass is, and if that were lower, it seems like the water would run off,
It is, so,
which would be a lot cheaper than $11,000.
That's what he's done, like
That's what
seven
we've been
times.
doing.
Right.
Lowered this area?
Yeah.
you know, just keep going with saw cutter, lower, cut it out, and it'll be good for a few months, but as it rains, all that dirt comes and sits in there and settles in that, and it'll back up.
Yeah, I agree with you, Phil, it's expensive.
I mean, I walk this path 3-4 nights a week, so I hear you. This is an issue, so, just seems like a lot for a very small space.
Oh,
Is that the only contractor that can do it?
No, I can put this out and get 5 or 6 estimates, I'll put it out.
I mean, it looks like a pretty simple job.
Do you think this is exorbitant price?
I thought it was a little bit high myself.
Thank you.
So if you want, I will put it out to, I got a list, I think, of 8 or 10 paving contractors that I could just issue a simple proposal, just a description of it with a picture and in an email and.
To keep progress moving, set this as your high watermark approval, not to exceed this number, and see if we can mark it down.
Perfect.
That way we
I'll
can get the
modify my
project done.
motion